I've been doing Bubble for more than 6 years, and I thought making the mobile version would be easy. Well, I was wrong. The thing is, when you've been doing Bubble for as long as I have, you tend to apply certain habits to the mobile version, and I can tell you after days of struggle that it's not the same logic at all. Hi YouTube, if you've been doing Bubble for a while and you're looking to switch to the mobile version, this video is for you. I created it following numerous questions I received about the different aspects to know when starting with the mobile part. If you have opened your Bubble interface since the mobile update, you shall see ici, je peut-être, you notice that you have an additional choice on the app side, which is the choice of mobile apps. Which means that from now on, all the pages as well as the workflows attached to these pages will be separated when it comes to mobile or web. When you open your mobile app for the first time on Bubble side, you will notice that there is a screen already pre-made. It's somewhat equivalent to a 404 on the web part. It's a mandatory screen that you must keep, as it's a configuration screen in case your application needs to be updated. First notable difference, when you create a new page called a view, you will have access to 4 options: not scrollable, scrollable, vertical list, and section list. Scrollable view is the default and most commonly used. It's a classic screen, you can scroll through your page normally. Then the not scrollable is the same, except you cannot scroll. It's written in the title. I think it's really used in the web view part, and it's really important because it helps you to not simply make your application unusable. Then you will have the vertical list and section list, which are generally the same things, except that there is a sorting system. These elements are very important, so it feels a bit strange to have a big list in the middle of your page, but it's the only way to have access to swipe left and swipe right type controllers, which will give you very precise and pleasant control of your interface. Once your page is created, you will see what is called the mobile canvas. Inside, you have a top area called the top safe area with the phone's status bar, and at the bottom there will be a bottom safe area. These areas are very practical because they prevent your display from covering the status bar on your phone, allowing you to better control your design. In terms of new features on mobile interfaces, there is an option that is very interesting: the Show tab menu. Now, you can create a menu in just a few seconds, and once created, you can modify it, customize it, and add the page inside this menu. You need to understand that this menu will be common to all the pages of your application, which will save you a lot of time in interfacing. In fact, I've been talking about pages because I compare it to the web. In reality, on Bubble Mobile, we talk about views, and it's important to understand because it's a logic that totally changes compared to the web. For example, in the web version, each page is independent. When you create a page, you can connect to it through a go-to-page workflow or access it independently via the URL. On mobile, it's totally different since everything is loaded on the same interface. That means when you connect to your application, you arrive at the home of your application. Well, this change is very important because it changes the entire navigation logic of Bubble pages. To explain simply, it's like having a page on Bubble with plenty of groups that will show up visibly or invisibly without changing or reloading the page. Well, it's the same principle on the mobile view. In terms of display, Bubble has thought of a quite clever system. Instead of having go to page, you have go to view with a particular display system. You have stack that ultimately allows you to navigate between pages with a slider system. This allows you to show a difference between one page and another page. And you have a modal system that allows you, when you click on an item, to access the details of that item through a new view. But the interesting thing is that this view appears over the previous screen. Basically, it feels like it's a detailed view of the previous screen, and you can even go back through a swipe on the interface. This type of interaction is quite common on mobile, and it's good that Bubble has considered it because it really changes the navigation experience. Now, regarding data sending, I know it's something that confuses a lot of former bubblers. In reality, we will first add a property at the view level that we want to affect, and then we will add in the go to view the data we want to display. The data does not appear if you have not added the data directly in the view in question. So, you no longer have what is called the current page data, which used to allow you to directly access the data on the page. Now you just have to click on the highest page, basically the root page, which will allow you to access the data properties again and be able to call it no matter where you are in your mobile interface. This system has the advantage of being extremely flexible because you can add multiple properties with several different types. It is also important to understand that the view system also impacts your Bubble logic. Now, there are systems that no longer function like the web part, notably the custom states. A custom state, let me remind you, is an element that has a temporarily saved data. The problem is that now, with the interface part and the accumulating views, the custom state no longer refreshes. It therefore becomes not temporary but permanent. Take this into account when using it, as it might cause some recording issues if you do not update it manually. Now we will move on to the visual elements of the interface. So already we have undergone a slimming down between the web part and the mobile part. We no longer have HTML, alerts, videos, or links, and now we have an additional element, which is the web view part. We will make a video specifically on the web view part because you will see that it's the best way to transform a part of your application already on the web into the mobile part. Now, on the containers part, actually we haven't really lost any elements. In fact, they've mainly been grouped or divided. For example, the famous repeating group that everyone knows has been subdivided into two elements. On one side, the vertical list, and on the other side, the horizontal list. You'll see these elements are super convenient because they give you more control, and frankly, in my opinion, it would have been very, very good to have this also on the web part. Then we have the focus group pop-up part, which has been mixed into what they call the sheets. And I like to pause for a couple of seconds on the sheet because I think it's one of the most amazing elements of the mobile part. Basically, you have a kind of group that allows you to expand from the bottom of your page, and you can choose a minimum size for this group when it appears, and you can extend it as you wish, even to the point of covering the entire screen. The idea inside this is to generally be able to put controllers inside the form, buttons, whatever you want, interaction elements without disrupting the full view of the screen. Be careful, this should not be confused with the view that corresponds to the modal view, because the idea is to be able to add control inside and to be able to open this control area. In any case, personally, I am totally won over by this sheet component because I think it is really very important to have this type of controller on mobile. Finally, the input forms group is the one that has undergone the most reductions. In the end, there are only 5 elements left. So you have the input and the multi-line input and the checkboxes which have not changed. You still have the date time picker part, but in reality it has changed a little since it is adapted to the native part. And finally, it is usable and you have the selectable list part. This is a new element that is ultimately a combination of a drop-down system and a multi-select drop-down system in a way. That allows you to literally have a selector for one or multiple items automatically. It's super pleasant to use. I think it would have had its place in the web version. And now you should normally be asking yourself a question. How do we upload images on my native mobile app? In reality, the picture uploader element no longer exists in favor of a system through workflows. It is extremely practical. It is part of the new workflows that are coming exclusively to the mobile section and will allow you to use the camera or also the library, meaning the library section of your phone to directly record images. It is extremely fast, super smooth, and most importantly, it allows you to have quick control without having to add the element. And that is pretty cool. These elements have been grouped together in the workflows under a new category of actions, which are the native mobile actions. In addition to camera access, there is also request permission location and get current location. So in reality, those elements, particularly the request permissions, will be essential when submitting your application to the stores. Indeed, you do not have the right to activate features like GPS without asking the user for permission. And that's very important, and that's why Bubble added this system.
There's also another workflow that will ask for permissions, the push notification system. I remind you that the push notification system is used to receive notifications on your phone via your application. And so, for that, you will have 2 workflows that have been added in the email and notification section. On one hand, the request push notification, the permission, and finally, you have the logic of a notification. Of course, I will make a dedicated video on this subject. The important logic to understand is the device system, which is right here, which actually corresponds to a new database that has been added. This data table, more precisely, is called device because indeed each phone must have its own notification token. I'm not going into details now, we'll have a dedicated video on the channel. Also, there are other actions that have been added, so I'm not going to go over everything, but you have a new controller system on the button part. Now you have a system for the tap, that is when we click on the screen or tap on the screen.
And you have a second type of interaction on the buttons, which is the pressed. Before, the pressed was simply a visual condition, and now it becomes a full-fledged action on a workflow. Now it is time to move to the preview. From now on, you can access the classic preview of your Bubble application, but also with a phone version using an application called Mobile Go. First of all, you should know that the web preview part is designed to give you a preview, but not all functionalities are present because, well, the features that call on phone elements cannot work, which is normal. However, you still have the ability to display a phone canvas to get an idea and test the sizes. That's pretty cool. And you also have the debugger part, which has just been installed. What's practical about this view is that it allows you to move quickly without having to open the Mobile Go part.
But do not limit yourself to the web version. For your test, you need to download the Mobile Bubble Go. This application will allow you to test your mobile application under real conditions. So for this case, be careful. It's like your Bubble application that gathers all your apps. You will have a page that will load all your apps, and it might take a little bit of time. However, once your app is launched, you have access to the controls that would normally be attributed to a native mobile application. It's really nice. Just remember, if you make updates, shake the phone vigorously to be able to relaunch your application. Be careful. I almost broke my phone because of that. It integrates almost all the phone's features except for one, the notification. And that maybe that's a bug, or maybe it's normal for it to be like that on the mobile side. I don't know at the moment. Finally, we're going to finish this video with the mobile settings section, which is a new tab added in the Bubble menus that will allow you in a single interface to configure all the elements for your deployment and the different elements needed for the store presentation. Don't forget that to distribute and deploy your application, you need an iOS developer account to deploy it on the Apple Store and an Android account to deploy it on the Play Store. And regarding that, we'll have a video dedicated to this topic. I will also take this opportunity to specify the steps for you. So first you will create your account, then you will upload the configuration files to deploy your application. You must first have created your accounts to be able to have the files in question. And then you will have a validation done by a human or a robot, depending on the store you have chosen. Once your application is validated, you will be able to distribute it on, well, the different stores. It is important to understand one thing. From that moment on, any modification to the interface of the stores, meaning the presentation, the text, the name, etc., will require a redeployment of the application, meaning a resubmission. If you only need to make modifications in the app, meaning functional changes, you won't need to redeploy. It will be automatically updated on Bubble, except of course if these are elements known as permissions. And so at that point, well, it might conflict with the guidelines, especially from Apple, which are quite strict about that. That's it. You can now confidently move on to the mobile part, having quite the experience from the web part. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Feel free to leave a comment. I can't wait to hear what you think. There will be many more videos on the mobile topic because I find it fascinating. Don't hesitate to subscribe, activate the bell, and see you soon in the next video.
Hello.